All right. Thanks again, everyone. Welcome to the 1st of July, 2026, and our technical steering committee meeting for Werewolf. Our discussion agenda has filled out a bit, but it's mostly just because I have at least not made a lot of progress in the past couple weeks. I've been traveling, so I went and got information about kind of PRs in flight and things that have closed out, and then maybe some active issues to at least check in on and see what the committee thinks about. Um, but then the first thing on the list is that we have Perk coming up. There's a werewolf BOF scheduled for that Rose has been coordinating, and she put the planning document for that, or she linked it in the I think TSC channel, and I have linked it here. Um, I don't think that there's any change from that. I know I am not prepared for it yet. I need to because there will be a brief moment for kind of update on the Werewolf project in it. And then the goal is for it to be largely kind of breakout sessions where we're going to hear from our user community about what they would like to see in different topics. Let's pull this up real quick because I at least want to see the small groups. I think that here it is, group topics. So this might be a lot of topics, but we'll see what people kind of uh, glom together as and which topics are most interesting to people. We have IPv6 and networking, provisioning to disk, the REST API and other automation stuff, um, Kubernetes and container native workflows. I'm less certain what, I guess just like provisioning Kubernetes with it. Rose is not here to speak for her intent here, at least today. But if we have any feedback to her, we can take notes there. HA, Debian and other non-EL stuff, migrations. Uh, any thoughts on um, this BOF plan? Anything else that we should keep in mind as we prepare for it? I'll be there. Rose will be there. Tim will be there. Ian, I think you said you were going to be there. Is that right?
Sadly,
Okay.
no.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, we have two Christians now. I don't know why I want to go mark you present again.
Yeah, that's
Anyway, so the agenda for the BOF is linked there in the notes. If you're able to be there, great. We'll be looking forward to seeing you. If not, feel free to continue to provide thoughts and feedback and recommendations into the plan there, and we'll look forward to a good BOF. Aside from that, the HPC Assist Pros workshop is at the beginning of the conference. I'm planning to be there for that. And then the OpenHPC BOF is, I think, later in the conference, but we at least made sure that these two didn't conflict. So I'm planning to be there as well. Anything else that we need to discuss about Perk? All right, with that, I will pass to Christian. You put this, I did read this earlier and now I've already forgotten. Okay, yes, the like RPMs for overlays. I didn't quite follow exactly what you're going for, so
yeah,
tell
that
us what
that's
you're
an
thinking
idea
here.
from me that you can kind of so an overlay, a rendered overlay is basically just a list of files.
Hmm.
Now the idea is that we can also not just deliver them as one big CPA archive, but for every overlay we could create an RPM, which would then be called like RPM, like node name and then the overlay name and then some versioning. And that would mean, I think it would be cool for people who, for example, have some like the configuration for Cronny or all that stuff, and they have one of their hosts which they didn't install with Werewolf because there's a raid on it, or that kind of stuff. Which there are sometimes nodes which need some special care because of their hardware or users login or network configuration or whatever. But you still want to be them to be part of the cluster. And so for them, you could just install an RPM, which contains that piece of configuration.
Are you imagining then that the RPMs are how you would distribute the overlays in general?
No.
No? Okay. Just
We
also.
cannot, it could be possible. The thing is, we could not because we have some overlays which need to be there before boot. So we could not do that in general,
Hmm.
for
Right.
sure. But we could do that just for, we could do it basically really for every RPM. It's not a problem to create them. That's kind of as soon as you have a mechanism for that, that's not really a problem. But it would then allow you, for example, to add your login node to the cluster, which you don't want to have to be managed by Warewulf, because there's a RAID on it or whatever I said. And then you could still kind of manage some of the configuration files for this node via Warewulf. Like, yeah, there are sometimes really stuff which you don't want to configure all the time. For me, when 10 years ago it was always the PANFS or the FHGFS, which is BGFS today, and this
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And if you want to change something on the overlay, you would have just to update the RPM.
Is there like a general purpose tool today for converting a CPIO to an RPM? Because I know an RPM is really just like a wrapper around a CPIO, right?
There's a bit more inside an RPM. That's
Okay.
kind of, I don't know. I did not really check this, but I think it should be possible to do this with Go code.
I'll say I am like initially dubious about this. I don't see a reason not to have nodes like that in the cluster. Like a RAID, people can manage that today. But I don't know. I don't know that I would stand in the way of it. I think I want to see how it was done.
Yeah, for the thing, it would be just be one more path where you would say, okay, this is then you would have to add this one more path to the server where you just add the repo in it.
Yeah. Are you imagining that you would uh are you imagining that you would have an RPM for like the system and the runtime overlay, and so just like two per node, or are
No,
you one per each?
I don't know. I'm still thinking a bit about this, but I think I
Yeah,
would create RPMs for every overlay.
for each overlay that you're applying
For
to
each
it.
overlay, and even if overlay contains another overlay, you could solve that with dependence, with requires.
Well, I don't think overlays can require each other right now. Um,
Yeah, then yeah, or perhaps one basic or um, one node specific RPM, which then requires all the over. You have to create the overlays the RPMs per node, and then one master configuration RPM per node.
I think what I would want to do for this, well, okay, there's no reason why you couldn't just run Werewolf client on a node that wasn't provisioned by Werewolf, and then it could just pull the overlay down and apply it directly.
Yeah, but that's not that could be possible, but the it's a nice. I just like the idea here is that um you could then manage also. It's more or less a proof of concept of this idea. I
Yeah.
like the idea because I don't like Ansible and stuff like this. Because this would then allow for example, if I have a node configured and you have to look at it, you could just like look it with RPM query and see where the configuration comes from.
Yeah, but then so in order for my concern would be two different paths for overlays, right? So I could see an argument for distributing overlays in general with packages, but then that means that we can only deploy in environments that have those package managers. Um, and then so without that, I see that maybe we need an RPM or packages for Werewolf client, and then it would be easy to deploy that, and it would just get its overlay configuration from Werewolf like any other node would, and at least
Yeah,
then it's the same as other
that's
things.
definitely. But then it's more or less the idea that some people that in there might be some setups where you as a cluster admin want to push out some configurations. and not run www client on that nodes because of behavior. Is www client running it is really very intrusive. You're really going there and then tarring and giving the help. You're just really writing the files to the file system without any that it could destroy your whole machine.
So it doesn't do. I think it writes them to a temporary location now and then brings them over into where
Yeah,
they go.
and brings them over, but there's no way if you, for example, overwrite etc hostname or something like that important, it will
Yeah.
just override it and not ask anything about it.
Same about your RPM though. Like, uh,
Yeah, but
oh, so actually, that's
you,
a point. We actually discussed this in the past. You can't do this because it will conflict with other packages that provide those files.
I found a way around this.
Okay, but
That's the reason why I want to try it. I found a way that's if you're setting the configuration file to Ghost, then
okay.
you can install it without you have to put it into another location, copy and back, but that's working out. I tested that.
I'll say like my it feels to me like the wrong thing. By all means, if you want to prototype something.
Then it's a good idea. If
Yeah.
it feels to you, by all means, that's then are really great.
Well,
No, it's no.
now
To be
here's your
honest,
question. Do you want this or do you want TPM?
both. No, I didn't implement it yet, and the idea is just I still don't know if it's a purely insane idea, which I had with 38 Celsius here in the office, and it was just a fever dream, or if it's a really good idea. I still don't know it yet, but that's the reason why I want to implement it and see if some people will use it or not, and if nobody will use it, we'll throw it out at a given time.
Yeah, in that case, I would say, like Tim is saying here at the end, and feel free to say also, Tim, but I would say do something like this as an external tool, and then it's easy to try or throw
Yeah,
away.
the external tool Tim is right, and it's a solution looking for a problem. He's completely right about this. I acknowledge this. The thing is, when talking with other people at the OpenSUSE conference about this, um, I realized we need some kind of data storage for that. And the data storage we already have in Werewolf, and I know how this data storage works.
Okay. Okay.
Because we have the overlays already there. And that's you have to have some kind of organization of data pooling, how to organize data and where you really see the advantage. And the advantage here would be really you have your login server where you want to have your GPFS or whatever you want. But you don't want to have it fully Werewolf controlled because there is still a RAID on it or something else, and then you could just drop the RPM to it.
Okay.
Okay, that was my take on this.
Okay. The next top level bullet is just a quick review and kind of maybe celebration of PRs that have been merged since our last meeting. So the first one that came up is so we were having CI failing because of an upstream change at SUSE that was breaking our ability to build the Docker file. Then that was
Yeah,
being built
yeah, that's
as part of our
something.
CI.
It's
So
always breaking a bit,
yeah.
but that's
So
if you are bleeding edge that you are bleeding sometimes. Sorry for that.
yeah, I hold you personally accountable, Christian.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know.
but with some feedback from Tim, Tim, thank you for that review. That's in now, and CI should be working now. More functionally, Tim got this renumber inodes fix in where 64-bit inodes were getting consolidated down to a 32-bit inode space that CPIO has, which can lead to collisions. And I guess there's just a argument for that in the CPIO command. So this PR includes like feature checking to make sure that the CPIO that we're running actually has this capability before calling into it. Anything else to say about this other than thank you for doing it, Tim?
No comments on my end. It was
Okay,
pretty straightforward.
great. And then, Christian, I think you reviewed this one, but
Yeah.
when doing a werewolf control node or profile set, it asks, are you sure you want to make this change?
Yeah.
And now it shows you what it's changing, which seems like a good add. So cool.
Yeah, just I also added that it's doing that for an unset that you exactly see and some other I had to add some smaller things there. Um like yeah. But
But
it's really
it is
it's a
also doing
nice
it for
idea.
unset. Yeah.
Hmm?
It is now also doing it for unset, you said.
Yeah,
Okay,
I hope
cool.
so.
I haven't pulled and tried that yet, but I was glad to see it go in. Um, Things that have been updated since our last meeting. There's a few more of those. Oh, I didn't update. Oh, I didn't put that one in there. That's why it's not. Okay, so there's a PR in here for moving the source space, like the default paths when you're doing a source based install to opt werewolf. We had an issue for this. I think it's literally just move it to opt werewolf. Yeah. So I haven't reviewed this, but I imagine that this is pretty straightforward. I didn't, yeah, this is pretty small. So if anyone has some time to go look at this is probably just needs to be rebased on top of the fix for CI and like the thing we talked about earlier, and see these tests run and then commit it. But um, should be pretty straightforward. This one we've talked about, and the author has made changes as we requested in our last meeting that I think are just ready to go, but I have not pulled it in to review it, and I don't
Yeah,
think anyone
the
else
yes
has.
rebase it.
Yeah, it
There's
needs rebasing, but other than that,
there's a conflict.
yeah,
Some conflict in the testing and some tests.
okay.
That's the
But
reason.
I think this is relatively straightforward. We just need it rebased, and then it should probably be able to go in. Christian, I realize like we've talked about this a little bit, but and I have not reviewed it.
Yeah.
But have you demonstrated this, like what it does in this meeting
Yeah, I
before? Yeah,
demonstrated
okay.
it. It's in the
I'll
videos.
I'll go find the video for it then, because I don't remember, and that'll help me.
Yeah, it should work. Check the documentation. That's so stupid, say checking the documentation. I also forgot what it's making. That's the basic.
It's
It's
four,
the basic
46
thing. It's
files, man.
really it's TPM. It's so you boot a node and then the www client uploads a quote. The node. So no, the change goes that way. So the we send all what the w what w what the server sends out is measured, which means that the SH265 thumb is recorded.
Hmm.
Okay. And now, as soon as the node has booted, it uploads the quote from the TPM to the server. Then the server replays the log and checks that what was sent out was really untempered, received by the node, and also applied, which is basically the images.
Hmm.
And after we know that, um, we send the node, and only if that is the same, the node can get a challenge back. And this challenge can only be decrypted in the TPM of the node. And this and the client and then that's a secret key which is inside the which yeah, and then you have a shared secret and that's it. And it
Okay.
will happen. We have to do it. We cannot. There are other tools doing this, but the problem here is that we have to um, do this every time at boot. So the for the other ones, the other keylime, I think it's called, is basically doing same, but they are storing that secret key then on disk, but we can't store that secret key.
And the secret key is used to encrypt communication between the
Yeah,
server
then
and
the
Werewolf
secret
client.
key is then just used to encrypt the communication
Okay,
between the nodes, and then yeah.
cool.
I know it's not no it's not to to encrypt, but it's used to authenticate. The
Okay,
encryption is done per TLS.
to sign it maybe
Yeah,
to sign it
it's
as
not yeah it's more signed.
okay, okay.
It's
This
it's
one's
like It's like the it's instead of the asset key, we then use that secret.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, right. Okay. Um, this is easier. I think this is basically ready to go, except for that I realized this morning as I was putting the agenda together that I neglected to switch it to DNS mask by default and just change the dependencies to that. So um, the other comments that the CIQ team had put together are applied in here. And if there's anything else that the team or the committee finds that needs to be done, please review and put them in comments here. Ian, I'd be particularly interested in your thoughts on these packages and whether they work for your use case, or if there's any changes you would recommend aside from switching to DNS mask by default. But otherwise, I'll try and get this fixed up and uh, make it ready for review and see if we can get this merged relatively quickly. So here we have a small backlog of Dependabot bumps that have been that were generated, and then a couple more that were raised by a CIQ security team. I'm trying to get those consolidated here, but when I was doing that, I found that one of them, maybe it's not still listed here, but one of them that was opened by Dependabot, um, was trying to increase the Golang version to 1.26, which is not in OpenHPC yet. So I've removed that from the omnibus, and that one will just stay open until we have that new Golang available. Um, but I was having trouble with the network where I was when I was traveling last week, so I didn't get this completely finished up, but I'll try and get this cleaned up here by the end of the week, and then should be able to get this merged in pretty quickly. And then maybe Dependabot will find a few more things to complain about because it's limited right now because it'll only open 5 at a time. Um, and so once these get closed, it'll probably find more, but we'll see. And then Christian, you opened this one. Tell us about this.
Oh, that's Adrian's fault from
So it
OpenHPC.
says.
So it says, I know. No, the idea was simply Adrian used a fake IPM. He just overrode the IPM with I think with a shell script, which started so he could use W control power on to basically start a VM. And now I was thinking, yeah, we have the templates for creating IPM like so the www control node power command is basically just an overlay which creates where the output is the comment.
But isn't that the way it already is? Like I'm
That's the
confused
way
by
it
this.
already is. And so my idea was, oh, why we don't just use QEMU instead of IPMI tool? And as soon as you spawn out a QEMU command, you start a virtual machine.
I'm just confused why there are code changes for this then, rather than just
There is code changes because it was a different overlay renderer. I had to use did that these
oh,
the
you wanted attributes that weren't currently presented to the
yeah,
okay.
and so I just switched it to the overlay renderer we already have for the overlays.
That makes
And then
sense.
we have all values available, and then we can, for example, you set a memory size by an IPMI tag.
That makes sense to me. Okay, cool.
I don't know if it's usable or not. It was that was one of the thing I have to admit it was mostly vibe coded. Because if you have the idea, it's kind of I just had to tell. I think it was Claude to say, okay, there are the files. Because I knew them and look at it. This is the template, how it looks like. I need now QEMU comments. I don't know if
So
it's working or not.
kind here, is this referring to Kubernetes and Docker, or is that
Yeah.
okay? What? So
I don't know. That's Claude which came up with that. I just wanted the word and QEMU, but
Yeah, we should investigate. Like, obviously, I'm looking at this for the first time right now, but if it's actually doing kind stuff, then that doesn't make sense to me. But I don't see any. It looks to me like it's just running the commands. So these should probably just be like libvirt and qemu.
Yeah, they really
and
start QA moment. The
okay.
thing is, I couldn't really try it because I I have to check if nested virtualization works because I was testing VM myself. So I think it's a basically cool idea if you want to really test your image.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
have
for
to
sure.
really boot a node full.
Okay. So, uh, two things then on the active issue stuff to talk about. So, one is that there's a thread going on Slack right now with someone that is discovered, and they were surprised by the fact that we distribute that little shell script that creates a
Ah, you mean that?
cluster
So
SSH
then
key.
then then I'll delete that. Sorry. Yeah,
What?
that's then wrong.
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah. So, um, frankly, I think that the real solution to this is just once we have split out the host overlays, then they could remove that one
No,
from the list.
no,
No, you disagree?
no, because it's the thing is, yeah, it's such how do you say it, a crack solution, a gray build crack solution. It's something you could do. Most people don't know that you could do stuff like this. That you could just it drops this, so it drops the SSH key generation to I think it binds it to PEM or the first logging or something like this.
It just puts it in profile.d.
Yeah, well, it's in profile.d. So it's really just that it takes care that if you have a machine where you don't have an SSH key, you will get one.
Right. I'm just
Right.
saying that if we split the host overlays so that that functionality is in its own host overlay, that means people could remove it if they wanted, and then it wouldn't do this anymore.
No, yeah, but it's not in the host overlay yet. So it would be more the more clever way would to say with www configure and that you say, okay, if there is an SSH key for we either say okay, if www configure doesn't find a host key, it will simply say, okay, I won't you have to create a host key for yourself or just create one.
That's what it's doing.
No, it's not what it's doing.
So it's not host keys. This isn't about host keys. It's about the per user SSH key. Um, uh, so it's this part, right?
Yeah, then show it.
So it's in overlays and host and root and
Yeah,
etc profile.d and like this one, right?
Yeah, I know, I know. But
Okay.
that's not, yeah, it's in the host overlay,
Hmm.
but it's not really creating the SSH key. It will be created if you re-log out and log in back.
Right.
It's wrongly in the host overlay, even that, because I think we dropped it at the start. I don't know where we could do some archaeology on this. Um,
So that's 1.2. Like it being on the host overlay is predicated on this kind of assumption that the Werewolf server is like a head node, which is doubling as a login node for the cluster. And so it's expecting that people are logging into this node before they would want to SSH to other nodes in the cluster.
yeah.
So having this in its own overlay would mean that you could choose to apply this to a login node instead of to the host also.
Yeah, if we make the host overlays more configurable, it could go in an LPM.
Um, Now I'm forgetting. I'm gonna go check real quick. Well, I know I don't have access to a Werewolf CLI right now. Um, we have like a configure SSH, right? I think that's what drops this in right now.
No, configure SSH.
Configure SSH actually makes the host keys. I don't know what command in configure actually ends up writing this out, but that's kind of the problem with the host overlay right now is it's kind of monolithic and just gets dumped
Yeah,
out on the
yeah,
file
it's one.
system when some command runs. So yeah, I think this will get cleaned up. For now, I just told them like how to remove it from the host overlay and from the host if they want that. behavior to go
Yeah,
away.
but to be really honest, then having the host overlays in RPMs would solve that problem because you know I'm a genius.
Um, so this is a thing that we have a customer at CIQ that has stated this, and I thought for sure that I had talked with them about it. So they're objecting to um, having to define different network interfaces in different network stanzas, like different network interface stanzas, because of the kind of multi-rail setup that they have in their GPU and InfiniBand environment. And but I'm unclear like what they would want to see instead. So they're saying allow multiple interfaces on the same network to reference. Oh, okay. So if they're just saying like they want to be able to have the same net mask and MTU effectively, and then just point the interfaces at that network rather than redefining it. And we've talked about this before of having like a network object that things are talk to alongside nodes. Um, I'm I'm uncertain, but I at least wanted to bring it up and see what people thought of this.
Could it be related to the node groups? I haven't looked at this issue very closely,
So
so
I
I could
think
be totally wrong.
node groups wouldn't help because
No,
that would still
what I mean is having a network group. Didn't
This
we?
is an old standing thing that we wanted to be networks a top level member. This is not new.
yeah. I mean, it's a new issue, like a new
It's a new
ticket.
issue, but
Yeah,
this is a long thing we know and we wanted and nobody implemented
yeah,
because it would just complicate things a bit, but it would make that things. But there is a long-standing issue for that. It's a really old one.
yeah. Here's from 2022, Grisnog saying
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
exactly. At the first class network
yeah.
concept. I think we could do it now. We would just need the merge since we have this merging simplified, like the setup, it would
Yeah.
no. But then we still have to think what breaks what.
Effectively what it is a an interface profile, right? It's it's the ability to define a an abstract interface that an interface would then inherit from. And
Yeah, the idea here
I guess
from my
not really,
side.
because we wouldn't want them to be arbitrarily nesting and inheriting. So it's not really that. It's really just point it to it, and it would get its values from there before it
Yeah, but
gets from itself. But
it's more really like the idea you name a network. You would
hmm
have network names, and this network names would then, for example, you could set the net mask in one for the network, and then all the network with that name would inherit them from that.
yeah,
And that would be the top level. Then if the profile overrides that network net mask, then the profile win, and if the node has it, the node would win.
So
I think
one recurring thought I've had is a lot of times we see these requests for enhancements and things like that, and they go into the overlays and the code like that. Why not just write your own custom overlay? We make it easy to do that. Couldn't you just make a somewhat hard-coded overlay for this and just have it write it out, get it
oh,
done?
do it in the network configuration overlay and just have it do it.
Yeah, just have your own custom overlay and things like that. Put your code in there. I mean, not everything has to go into the code into the code base. I've seen other things that are like one person's going to use this, and so there's a huge amount of code base to make the overlays overly complicated, where you could have your own one and hard code half of it and overlay the other one. It would still be elegant, and it would just be site specific.
That was always our argument, but it pops up so often that means that it's not feasible.
I think what I'd like to do for this one in particular, because I agree with you in general, Tim.
Yeah, but it's
For
really,
this one
you're
in
right,
part
Tim. That's
for this one in particular, I think what I'd like to do is kick back to the CS person that's talking with this customer and ask them like, what do you actually want this to look like instead? Because I do feel like there's a little bit of of talking past each other on this, and I think that we would gain a lot from just being like, what would you prefer this to look like, and how much of a difference is it really? Um, because to me, it looks like all it would do is replace netmask and MTU and type. You would have netmask, MTU, and type all being in a network device object, and then you would replace that with like network my InfiniBand or something like that, right? And it would just get those three values. But can this be done with tags? So yeah, in theory, I think what you could do is have a net tag that's like net have a net tag which is network my network, and then like Tim was saying, have a custom overlay that sees that tag and sets those values when it sees that tag. That'd be the easiest way to do it, without any code changes.
Kind of make a virtual interface as well. And you could, these are all by one. And so we could instantiate IB 0, 1, 2, 3 based off of the first one and just count through it, right? So you could do
Oh,
that.
yeah, even better. You could have a tag that's like same as uh Luster O one. And so like Luster O two could just be like same net Luster O one and get those values from that one, because it can see all of the interfaces.
Or a virtual one and it just creates them all
Right.
dynamically
Yeah,
based
yeah.
off of the first IP address and just counts through them. So one of the tags would be count, right?
Hmm.
Uh, it'd be luster01 and then device name and then count, and it would just increment the IB number and the IP and go from there.
I see what you're saying. So instead of a Luster O one, you just have like a luster, and then you
Yep.
tag it with count four, and then it would add like that. The worst part about that would be IP adder, right? That it would have to go and increment IP adder also. But in theory, you could do that.
So that, I mean, that would be a potential useful tool to put into overlays is to be able to add add a number to an IP adder and get the
Yeah.
next IP adder.
Like a new function to put into
Yeah.
the renderer. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take some notes on this because
And you could make a generic, because this is reoccurring, you could just make a generic uh, IB rail or, parallel IB overlay to it, and you just turn it on and give it the tag. So we could even ship with it because it's a reoccurring pattern. So it'd be uh, semi hard coded, but semi reusable.
to and anything else? No. Okay. Those are two possible solutions. Anything else that we should discuss today? All right. Well, if not, uh, we'll have this slightly abbreviated TSC meeting. Thanks, everyone. Sorry for the lack of movement. I have more traveling coming up, but hopefully I'll get a little breather here to try and help out in the meantime.
How
And
was the IC?
ISC was great. I thought it got better over time. We landed and then had hardware that we wanted to deploy fuzzball on that we had not deployed it on before. So that first night where we were trying to get everything running was a little bit harrowing. But it ended up for some good demos. There was healthy like Werewolf interest, and I thought that the OpenHPC provisioner BOF went really well. There was a lot of
Oh,
Werewolf
cool.
interest in there. Um, but yeah, it was good to be there.
Cool.
Sorry you weren't there to show me around, but I enjoyed Hamburg.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. See
See
you.
you all soon.